Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy Monday, the 27th of October. Fast approaching the end of the month. I believe it is Friday, which is also Halloween and the monthly close, right? So correct me if I'm wrong on that. It's going to be an interesting week this week. Looking quite good as well. Feels like we have a little bit of life back in the markets. Some price action to go on, some structure, some stuff like that. So we'll just start off with some of the usual data. I feel like this week is relatively quiet in terms of big data. Okay, I guess we have. Okay, well, it's not entirely true. We have the Fed interest rate decision at 7 p.m. for me on a Wednesday, so that will be during market hours on a Wednesday afternoon, or sort of around midday for Americans. I guess that's quite a big event this week. Apart from that, nothing really too crazy. What was that? I'm not really sure about all that stuff. It's not really too important. I don't really want people to, you know, take too much data into account. But yeah, watch out for Wednesday, and that will probably be the biggest event this week. In terms of long to short ratio, we are sitting at a pretty 53.3% long. So in the last few days, we've had shorts aggressively coming back into the market from this up move. We were sitting at pretty much 70% long. So yeah, it's come down quite a lot in that recent time, and we're getting quite close to a cross on the old MDX charts, on the old long to short charts on the long and short indicator. So interesting to see. We are getting very, very close to a cross. We are at potential resistance right now. If we can break through this, we're going to have quite a clear shot to 121, which is what we were talking about for quite a while. But yeah, we are at resistance right now. Just be careful. We might see a little bit of a pullback, but in general, it's looking quite good for a little bit more upside in the short term. In terms of liquidations, just let this load. Yeah, we've taken quite a lot of stuff to the upside in most recent move up. We are just steadily grinding up and eating more of that stuff to the upside. We have eaten this very local stuff in between 114, 115. We have a bit of a dead zone at 118, so not really too much liquidations, just above the most recent high that we made, basically above 116. So we just kind of did that move on Bitcoin. Yeah, it's just looking a little bit more grindy up. We're still in an uptrend, and yeah, potentially looking very good. So the downside, we do have some stuff at 106, but it would take us quite a lot to get back down there quite now. So yeah, looking potentially quite good. We have a bit more to the upside, basically up to 118, and that would break us new highs. So looking quite good in the short term on liquidations. Checking the max pain. Let's just go to 3A because it's relatively quite zoomed out. 3-day short max pain sitting at 112.4. Sorry, long max pain sitting at 112.4. Short max pain sitting at 116.4. If we go to the weekly, that's where we see the real big difference, where long max pain is still sitting at 108.8. That's been sitting there for quite a long while now. And the short max pain sitting at 116.5. So yeah, we're quite close to the short max pain. We're quite close to ripping all that short max pain. On the 2 week, it's 117.1, and on the 1 week, it is 126.5. So all the way up over those all-time highs. So very interesting, very, very interesting. I would start looking at this 1 week and 2 week max pain on the shorts, which is like 116.5 and 117.1 in the very short term. Last but not least, the legend, the Coin Blast legend. We do have the volume node sitting at about 111.4-ish, 111.5 to 111.3-ish, around that area. That's a very good support and resistance flip on the 1 hour and the 4 hour time frame. So let's see what happens if we do find some resistance at this sort of like little swing from earlier. Where's that? That was the 13th. So mid-October. We find a bit of resistance here. I'm going to be looking to potentially hold somewhere in this area around this like volume node at 111, 111.5. So yeah, that's the data. Let me just make sure I'm changing all my stuff. today. There we go. There we go. Right. Let me just check the chat. Make sure it's all good. Yeah, everything's all good. I will look at your X post in a second, Chris. Did you worry? So, yeah, Bitcoin looking relatively good. We'll just not use AI charting tools for a while. So we've had this bearish Stuber pretty much pointed out ever since we did this low. That previously week we said we wanted to basically fill the wick before we wanted to look for any longs, just because the market was looking a little bit sideways, a little bit rough at the moment. We made that low and have since actually, when we made that new high, did a good hold here, and since then have been in a 4-hour uptrend, which is quite nice. So yeah, like I said, if we find some resistance here, I would like to hold, you know, sort of like 111, sort of like this SR flip in here. I would like to see that hold. We do have some high leverage liquidations just below there, so a lot of stuff is stacking in this area, which is interesting. If we do come back down and potentially like grab some of that stuff and then regain, that would also be okay. But yeah, in general, I'm looking for this to just hit 121. I've been looking for this 786 for a while, pretty much ever since we were like in this area. So that's still the target for me. And yeah, on the weekly time frame, if we just quickly go through that, we have held 1082 on the weekly time frame. So this is big weekly support now, and yeah, we just don't want to lose this. Basically, these two candles that we just did, these two weekly candles, is the weekly low not to lose. Now there is quite a lot of bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, even as we are in this area. It's kind of starting to look a bit tired, but yeah, nothing too crazy at the moment. I do think we are due a test of the highs in between this pocket, or at least a swing fail. So yeah, that's why I'll be looking to potentially head short 121. You got 123.5, and then we also got the swing fail area as well, which if we just switch on the liquidations, will be in between sort of like 126 to 128. So anywhere there, I'm looking for some failures on Bitcoin. But until then, we're looking further to the upside, and we're looking at potentially some nice alt moves in the next, you know, 4 or 5 weeks, I feel like. So yeah, let's enjoy it. I hope it doesn't really like just like blast straight off into the pocket. I hope we do some sort of like high low, maybe like carve something out and, you know, get a little bit more time this time. So yeah, in general, Bitcoin looking good. The target is going to be 121. If we do see a pullback, it's potentially an area to long, especially if we're holding sort of like 110, 111 in this area. Apart from that, not really too much else to say. I won't be long in just here. I will be waiting for a little bit of a pullback. I mean, I guess we already got long in this area last week. So yeah, looking good. Looking good. Let's just have a look at the volume of dollar. Yeah, we're having nice bullish volume coming back in. We did see some shorts get trapped down here as well. So this was actually very sneaky last week. Let me just take off that circle. Where we did this higher high and then we did a lower low, but we actually held here quite nicely, and a lot of shorts got trapped in this area. And we basically just grind our way out of it, well, grinding upwards our way out of it, as shorts are coming more into the market. So this is like the grindy up, everyone's shorts, and now we've made a new high. So looking good. Not going to take any like hasty moves at the start of this week. We're just going to chill, maybe get a little bit of a pullback, hopefully get some longs in, and yeah, like I said, target's still here. Target's been here ever since pretty much this dump, so yeah, looking good. Maybe let's have a look at some of this other stuff like Bitcoin DOM. Yeah, so Bitcoin DOM is actually looking quite good for a little bit more upside. We do have this massive wick up to sort of like this swing area. But in the general price action, we are kind of just still grinding up. And You know, for alts to go a little bit crazy, we would like to see some losses of sort of like this area here. So like a break and then a bearish retest, and then we'll probably go for the lows. But in general, Bitcoin Dom looks, you know, relatively not too bad. I mean, on the weekly, we still are failing. This is what we basically kind of want to gain back, this sort of like low area. And until we do that, this is basically, we're looking for a bearish retest of this swing on the weekly time frame. So yeah, we might have a little bit more upside in the near term, just basically to fill this wick. But as long as we don't get above here, I'm looking for potentially more downside on Bitcoin Dom. So yeah, hopefully a little alt run, guys. That's what we're hoping for. Let's quickly check the CME, just because there is a potential CME gap just below where we were talking about. So 111 to 113.5. It's quite a big gap. Is the CME gap. So watch out for a fill of like 111, 111.5, which is what I was talking about where that node was on CoinGlass Legend. And also there's a lot of there's a few liquidations just underneath 111 as well, pretty much all the way to like 110, 110.11. So watch out for that area. If we do get a bit of a pullback early on in this week, that'll be potentially an interesting long to take up to 121. Apart from that, I might just quickly just cruise on through like USDT dominance, which is still kind of in a bit of an uptrend, actually. Pretty much ever since we did sort of this new high, this is basically our low to lose. So essentially we're in a bit of an uptrend on USDT dominance. Maybe people just gradually taking profit from this cycle. Wouldn't be surprised if this generally starts to roll over, but in general, nothing too crazy to say. Let's look at the VIX quickly. Yeah, the VIX is failing.
What are you saying on alts, brother?
I think
give me some sneaky little shitty alts which are at 0, which you think can come back.
All right. Let's look at ETH quickly, and then we'll have a look.
VIX is boring, man.
VIX is boring,
I'm looking at it. I was looking at the VIX earlier. I was just like, there's nothing really to talk about with the stock market. I said on my fucking last stream, you know, it's likely up until it's up until proven otherwise. Wait for a big systemic break, short the retest. VIX is kind of just flatlined again. I reckon we'll get a big spike soon.
Yeah.
But SBX is for the year it's not really beating inflation yet. So I think it still has upside. And obviously the end of the year is in 3 or 4 months. And then I would say we're gonna have bullish seasonality. But the only thing you can do with the stock market, like I've said this for fucking years, is you literally just keep going long until you get stopped out. Because when it actually nukes, it's going to go down significantly. Like the COVID crash, like the .com, even the fucking massive bear market after COVID, the COVID crash. And then we had also, if you go back even to .com, the 90s bubble, Cuban Missile, all those, it's just like, it's always up and then you just get stopped out. And that's essentially every move down in the stock market is everyone getting stopped out because they're forced to essentially sell. And then sometimes governments will get crazy and even put in like circuit breakers and shit, which is crazy. So there's absolutely no point trying to short because firstly the government are trying to make it go up. They're printing fuckloads of money, which is obviously up pressure. You've got companies that, genuinely speaking, are growing in the tech sector, so that's a good bet because they're getting bigger. They're actually growing. The value is going up, not just staying the same. And then you've got the stop loss management, which is just like, well, it's going to go up with inflation. There's also going to be companies that are going to grow. You've got the government on your side because it's going to keep pushing it up. So why would you even think about shorting? You just long, and then get stopped out, and then everyone gets stopped out together. It goes down 20%, and you just fucking re-long again. It's actually just unbelievably simple.
It's very, very simple, yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Very, very, very simple.
No.
Yeah, it's very, very simple, sir. But
the parameter is so simple on the stock market.
We'll look at ETH quickly, and then we'll have a look at some juicy alts maybe for this week, because there might be a couple decent buys coming up. So yeah, ETH, we're potentially at a little bit of short-term resistance. I have said pretty much ever since we did this dump that we're definitely going to come and touch this swing at some point. It's looking quite good potentially in the short term. We have actually done a really good close on ETH, so we closed the weekly above a Q4 retest, so that's nice to see. If we do fail this now and kind of like curve over, then there's potentially a good long in this area if we do hold. Apart from that, yeah, it's looking potentially good to just go for the highs. Now, this is going to be very, very heavy resistance here. I don't really expect that we're going to do something crazy on ETH just because of this price action. Now, some people can argue this is a bull flag down into support here, where we are holding this weekly swing. Okay, you could argue that, but I feel like the daily structure is kind of what we should be going off here, and we do have new lows here and a lower high here. So until we break this high at 4.6, 4.7, you're expecting this to be a bearish retest. Now, there is also an argument that there's a lot of liquidations up here that we could just clean all of this stuff out and then reverse it. Okay, that's also definitely on the cards. But yeah, I would just be cautious once we get sort of like slightly up into that resistance I just showed you on the daily time frame. But yeah, it's looking fine. It's looking good. And if we get back down to sort of like 3.9, there's a potential good long all the way up to that swing at like 4.4, 4.5-ish, which I feel like would be quite an easy trade for everyone. So yeah, definitely get some movement this week. In terms of alts, let's have a little look, shall we? Does anyone want to look at Solana? I know we look at Solana just because it's like the 4th biggest alt, but yeah, it's quite similar to ETH in the sense where we have this like stupid pocket up here and we have some big resistance. There's obviously liquidations all the way up in this area. Like I don't even need to flip them on to show you. This low has very weakly been defended. We've kind of got like a triple touch across this low. In the local price action, yes, we made a new local high. This is kind of what we want to break to see a test of in between here. I would say that in the micro, sort of in the like local price action, ever since we basically did this higher low and this higher high, we are in a bit of an uptrend, and I would be expecting, again, similar on ETH, the 786 to be hit potentially this week. So yeah, looking not too bad. Again, if we do see a little bit more of like a little bit of a pullback, there might be an interesting long in this area. So actually just have a look at some of this stuff. Yeah, not too bad. Liquidations, we are building some high leverage stuff. So watch out that if we do get a pullback and we start like failing underneath this structure, that if we do sort of like a take of that and then a regain, that will also be a good area to potentially long this week. But yeah, one thing I'm potentially looking at is, so last week we actually talked about hype as being probably the best trade out there. And yeah, it's done really well. It's basically, did I get stopped out on that long? Can we have a look? Zoom in a little bit here. So yeah, I think we talked about longing hype here in this area, right? My stop would have been at 38.8, so I probably would have just got wicked out on my position there. But yeah, if anyone managed to get any hype long in this area and is still in it, not stopped, you're up a cool 20-ish%. So from Friday, which is quite nice. That was the weekend play, so, and that's the one that's pumped the most. Bro, hype printed for me this weekend. Yeah, we were talking about that on Friday, as that's the most likely thing to pump over the weekend, and it looks like it's done very, very well. So in terms of hype right now, I think, again, we're at resistance. You know, to change the structure, we need to do some closes above like 50.1. I think it's quite likely that this is going to do relatively quite well in the coming like sort of like weeks. And yeah, again, if we do come back down and see some of these like levels down here in between like August and Q3, it could be an interesting long. And yeah, I would be expecting sort of like August to hold this SR. I think that would be a good long potentially, and then obviously the stop's going to be beneath here, and then you just try again. If you do get stopped down that, you just try again at the lows. But yeah, it looks quite good, not too bad. That was the one thing that we sort of said that is going to go and do some good stuff this weekend. So yeah, looking good. And to pair that, we've also got Per. So yeah, that's looking decent off the off the lows where we did catch some longs in here. Um, yeah, I'm just going to leave this trade. Potentially, we're going to go all the way up to this swing, maybe even all the way up to the highs at 20 cent, and then yeah, it'll be 100% raw pretty much, which will be lovely, 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 lovely. One other thing that is potentially looking quite interesting as well is BNB. So we're slowly kind of like doing this like grindy up. You know, when it does this, makes a shallow new high, then grinds up to a new high as well. There's some good structure on this to potentially hold. So if we just zoom in, yeah, and we'll just talk about basically this SR flip in here. I don't want to lose this block anymore. Otherwise, we're obviously going to go again for these lows, which is pretty much all tested. So yeah, this also potentially looks quite good. It looks like it's just going to grind up and eat all of these liquidations up between like 1 to 10 and 1 6 7. So in this area, I think that's locally we're probably going to grind up to here, and then potentially come and see a retest in that swing where there is some high leverage stuff in that swing as well. So that's going to be interesting for a potential long if we do get down there as well. So yeah, some interesting stuff sort of like lining up on some of these alts this week. Other than that, let's have a look at some of these dead ones. So like Sui actually has made a new high here, so that looks quite good. We've closed a new high above, let me get my way out here. Looking good. You could even just get your, basically just get your fib out now and say, you know, if we get down into some of this structure, it's potentially looking good for a long. Maybe you're better off doing maybe like there's the local move, sort of like here to here, and then looking at sort of this SR flip on this 786. But again, if you start losing like here, the local price action will be down. So potentially you just want to hold like 2.55 to 2.5, like this little. You know what? Let me just take all these brushes off again. Potentially you just want to hold here this 618 for continued upside, but again, there is a potential like Stuba lower down as well into the lows. It's not looking too bad, guys. If you sort of like get a little bit of a pullback here into this area and like hold this sort of like block, you've got a really easy trade of potentially going up to sort of like in between the Q3 and the March. Regarded you don't get a bearish retest and set a lower high here, still that's still a semi-decent bounce trade. You know, like 6%, you're probably looking at maybe, yeah, okay. Only three are, which is not the greatest. We're kind of looking for 4, but yeah, there's potential, especially after we did that nice little sneaky close. That is a sneaky close as well on the 4 hour as well. But yeah, in general, this is still, you know, you're looking at this only testing sort of this swing area here where we failed from, and then again, if you want to change the structure, you need to do some closes over basically 3.63. If not, you're looking at this being a bearish retest. But that's why in this local structure, I am potentially looking for some longs just to take us all the way up there, and then I'll short all of this higher, or maybe have to reevaluate looking at like the liquidations and the long to short ratio once we get up there. But in the short term, I'm thinking, you know, it's just, yeah, we're gonna do some bearish retest at least.
Bro, a lot of these alts that are absolutely nuked beyond nuky. If Bitcoin does get the break and we do go into all-time high new territory again, that next expansion will probably mean alts stay the same, and then if we do get wherever Bitcoin sees resistance next, that will probably be another alt season, a mini one anyway. We don't want to use that word too openly because everyone's been waiting for an alt season, and so we went down 85%. But those freaking crypto bans a lot, getting everybody wrecked. But yeah, man, I think if Bitcoin's going to do what it's going to do, I think it's going to continue up. And then, yeah, I also think if that happens, then the next resistance will be a mini alt season for alts. Also, gold's on an absolute tear. But, like I fucking said, when we hit the 2011 purchasing power, we've had a massive pullback on gold. So I think if gold does start now, I think it can still go up for another leg. I don't think it's going to be the top in 1 week. I think it will probably do another leg up. I think $5,000 will be the cap for gold until it goes either sideways or sideways and slightly down for many years. That's usually how the bear markets look. But yeah, when I think gold's got another like 6 months of continuously popping up towards that $5,000, and then I think that will be good for Bitcoin as well. So I don't think Bitcoin's bull market's over. I don't think the gold bull market's over either. I think it's likely going to be that wick might be where it ends, but I do think we're still going to get multiple retests up towards 5,000 before it actually rolls over and does a probably around 2 to 5 year either sideways, flat, or slightly down.
Yeah. It's
very similar to what happened in 2011.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Bitcoin. It's like if this is topping out, what we're gonna see is we're gonna see a few like rogue wicks up to like probably like 128, 130, and then it will probably swing further and we'll get the really big break and stuff like that. That's just saying if we are going into a bear market. And also there's a lot of liquidity just above these highs as well. A lot of stuff we can do just before it as well. So yeah, I'm kind of like in the same boat. Like,
yeah, I don't think Bitcoin's over. I don't think the bull market's over. It's not over.
Well, no, you
It's
can't
still
say. You
above
can't
200 a
say.
day.
Yeah, exactly. You can't say that it's over just now.
Yeah, it's not over. Like it's 95% where we're going to continue up in my book. But I would say, yeah, I'm just saying that with the gold chart, how it is, we might see a synergy between when gold eventually tops in the next year or 6 months. That could coincide with Bitcoin topping as well, because there will be a cycle back through. Like, regardless of how crap fiat currency is, regardless of how crazy over the stock market is, the market will still sell off gold to go and find things that are low in purchasing power at the moment. And actually, you could have an argument if you look at the Dixie. There is an argument to say that there'll be a trade back out, and we're at 2011. Like, if you look at the chart, the M2SL chart, it literally went to my level.
Let me have a look.
Yeah, gold M2SL.
Can I not do W?
Gold
M2 MNS. What is it? No.
Well, yeah, you can do that, but you can do the simpler route. Just write M2SL. M2
2S. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's the same, isn't it?
And then scroll back. Yeah, it's the same. And then yeah, you can see that the wick is bang on exactly what I was fucking saying. Like, you're a fucking you draw a rectangle. We've literally wicked into it, and now we're coming back. So I don't know. It doesn't have to start the next bear market. I just knew that this area was likely going to be the next major resistance. We're getting it right now. It has stopped. The price has fallen, regardless of whether this is the let me bring up my chart as well. Regardless of this is actually the macro top for gold, it's still gone from wick to wick down 9%, which is crazy for gold.
Yeah,
like, we're talking fucking 9% move in less than a week. And if you look at historical volatility of gold, like, it's unbelievably small. Like, you're looking at intraday less than 0.5% over if you take a long time. So it's known as the safe asset, but right now it's very volatile. But 2011, if you actually look at the inflation adjusted chart, then you go to the normal chart, and you go to 2011, the bear market isn't going to be like, it won't look like a Bitcoin chart. It will literally look like, it will just look eventually like it went flat for one. We don't really know. I would say because of currency creation, it's probably going to be not as long as the 2011 bear market, but it's just going to look like flat and then rounding off, because the purchasing power of gold is not going to fall significantly if they can. Well, let's just say if it's inflation adjusted, the purchasing power can fall, but it doesn't mean the price goes down. I've said this a million times, because obviously there's more currency in circulating supply, so everyone's looking at gold like, oh my god, the price has gone up. But yeah, it's crazy how the purchasing power is the same as 2011. Like, considering it's at $4,000 per ounce, and it could go to $5,000. And then 2011 at the peak, it was trading at about 1,000. Let's just actually get that right. Sorry, about 1,900. To think that the price has doubled, but the purchasing power is the same, it just goes to show, like, we're living in unbelievable quantitative easing at this point. And it's just really getting a lot of people caught off guard, because it's very difficult right now to really know how much actual value the thing that you bought has increased, because the price, everything's going up in price, and it's very difficult to know exactly the inflation rate of each specific industry as well. And even if you go CPI, then you're even more fucked, because it's like each individual item in the shopping mall has its own adjusted inflation number for how much currency creation there is, but also then it has supply and demand shocks and how sought after that thing is. So like if you have a country which no one likes beef, and then suddenly everybody likes beef, like that's going to have an effect on the price as well, and like the supply and demand of it. So it's pretty much near on impossible to be able to have like 50 different things that you're looking at and know exactly how much you're actually increasing your portfolio in value. The price is easy. Like we say, a fool knows the price of everything, the value of nothing. This is the world we're in right now. Everyone knows the price of everything, but they don't really know the value. But even if you're fucking doing this every day like we're doing, we still don't really know, because we don't necessarily understand exactly how much true inflation there is, because the government will come out and say, well, and also we know that the way that they denominate inflation is wrong itself. It should just be how much currency do we create? That's the inflation rate. And then how did that affect the prices? Prices going up and down is not inflation. That's just the prices going up and down relative to the amount of currency being inflated or deflated. So like we're literally living in like multiple steps of delusion. And then people, if you want to go even further back, I'll probably talk about this on my stream because everyone's talking about gold. If you want to go even further back, what you're seeing now is a lot of YouTubers coming out and doing gold explained. If you want to go even further back, we're actually not even living on a gold standard at all. So essentially we're not even on a gold standard. So fiat currency is completely inflated and deflated with no relation to a hard asset. And then we're pricing things in the actual market, the CPI, on the paper that has no correlation to something hard. And then you're trying to come up with a fucking equation to, that's the inflation rate of each specific. It's honestly, bro, like
it's all just.
It's like if you were trying to make it complicated, this would have been the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's funny how we got here, because as soon as you roll back a little bit and say, well, I'm just going to buy fixed or scarce supply assets, usually what happens, especially with gold and Bitcoin, really the price rising is just actually showing you what the inflation rate is of money creation. That's how I'm be looking at this like for the last 5 years. If gold goes up 200, if gold goes up 100% like it did recently, it went from $2,000 to $4,000 from 2011 to where we are today. All in my head, I say, well, that's 100% that the money supply has been doubled. That's the reality of the situation. We have doubled the money supply. Whether big gold goes into a bubble and goes to 5, 6, 7, that might overcompensate how much money creation there is. But I would say probably if you get a moving average, that's probably the best way to actually know what inflation is. If your definition of inflation is how much currency is being created, in this example, US dollars. So it's completely, it's actually crazy that people are literally making bets on the basis of shit which doesn't even make sense. They don't understand it, and it doesn't even connect to anything. It doesn't even go back to a gold standard or anything. So it's fucking bring on things like Bitcoin, which are essentially the sovereign spot asset as well as the denomination of price. We need to start pricing shit in gold and Bitcoin. That's basically what we have to start doing.
Can you not like take the percentage of the W2M&S that is like grown, say since 1st of January 2020, and then compare it to gold? So look, we're up like, say let's 48% printed since 1st of January 20, and then just go to gold and we're up to 200% in that time. Why can't we just like divide it and just be like, okay, we have a 50% increase, but gold's gone up 200%, so that's 4 times. Yeah.
Well, all I'm saying is that there might be more or less currency creation. I'm just saying that if the price of gold is at this point, we know for a guarantee that at least there's double the amount in circulating supply right now. It can go over, it can go under. Like, it's never going to be the exact number. I'm just saying that if the price of gold has doubled since 2011, it's pretty much on the nail that we at least have double the amount of US dollars in circulating supply. It doesn't mean it has to be 100%, because you don't know. It could just be a bubble. But we do know that if you actually look at how much currency is being created, it could end up being like this. Gold goes to $10,000 and it fucking stays there. And we're like, oh shit, it wasn't 2x the supply. We actually did like 5. The problem is that it's hard to extrapolate forward how much currency creation there is if you don't know the exact amounts. And even M0, M1, M2, M3, M4, all the ways that the government are trying to calculate it, even those are fucking half the time wrong.
Mm.
Do you remember when they had that big $1 trillion deficit in the US before 9/11? Where it's oh, we lost $1 trillion, don't know where it is. Like, it's actually nuts. Like how we're even trying to do this. I don't think even the people at the helm of the Fed know. I just don't think they can know. And also, then you have all the interbank lending, the reverse repo. You have every single time a mortgage is created through the fractional reserve system. All I'm saying is that your best bet is to use the price of gold as the reality of how much currency is being created. But even that isn't perfect because it could be at 2. You could be double right now the price of gold, but it could go to 10, or it could come back to 2. All I would say is the probability of it coming back to 2 and staying there is unlikely, just because of the fact we know that there is new currency being created, not destroyed, because we do know 100% that the Fed with M0, M1, M2, M3, M4. I actually been looking into M4 recently, and it's really interesting because it's another way of looking at it from the Bank of England. So the Bank of England have their own M4 money calculation. I've been looking at that, and I'm like, fucking hell, they have even more crazy numbers. But I didn't actually realize how many different ways of looking at it is, and the only reason we use M2 is because it's the most liquid form in terms of what's actually in the economy. Because you don't want to take into account M3 or M4 because that takes into account reserves, but that's not actually liquid, or that's not the velocity of that money is 0. So would you like to price something with it's like trying to price your altcoin on the premise of the full total supply when actually there's only 50% in circulating supply. So it's the same kind of concept, really. You don't want to be like, oh, well, this is what the price is at total market cap, and then use that as your way of trading it. Now, you'd obviously say, well, there's 50% of the coins on out in circulating supply, so let's do the price relative to what's out there. That's kind of what these M0, M1, M2, M3, and 4 is, but I don't know, man, it's a complete fuck up. All I would say is that you just want to buy shit that has a fixed or scarce supply that can grow, and obviously we know that Bitcoin, it has a fixed supply, very very low inflation, and has a growth story. So I don't know what else is better than that at this point to buy. And we've said that for like how fucking long? A decade now?
Yeah.
Since 2016.
So like, what do you think your plan would be for the bear market? Like, because my plan originally was to cash out some into gold, but I'm kind of thinking I'd rather sit in cash for a bit at this point, to be honest.
Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing myself. I was gonna get into gold. I still do think that you're probably better off, even at gold at $5,000, because it's probably not going to go into a bear market that takes it back down to 2 from where it is now. It's unlikely going to do a 50%. In history, it has done that. We've seen 50 to 60% pullbacks in gold, but we know for a fact that money creation is much higher. So that's just going to mean, in terms of purchasing power, we could see it go down to, I think it will go down to below 2011 levels again, but in terms of price, it's not. I actually do think we're in a systemic shift anyway, away from fiat. So that's the growth story for gold. It's like Bitcoin has the growth story of new technology, has the growth story of being something that's small enough for it to grow, and there's new people coming in, and etc. It's like the better version of gold or better version of money. But I think gold has a similar story where people are actually fed up with fiat. But yeah, no, it's difficult, man. I'm probably not going to go all, because the problem is if you go all cash, and I'm not going to sell all my Bitcoin, 25% of my tradable Bitcoin will be sold, and my bot does a lot of that, and then obviously I have a lot of spot. But the problem is, like, you never want to go full into fiat, just because what happens if the big fiat currency collapse happens on your watch, and then you waited all this time. So you always have to have a little bit of Bitcoin just to hedge against fiat currency collapsing. I don't know, it's an interesting question, man. I think I'm probably going to be about 50-50 split.
Because,
Use some gold and some cash.
I was actually gonna do a lot of the like metals. So I've got obviously palladium, platinum, and stuff.
Silver's a good one.
I've kind of been looking at this like since the start of this year, and palladium still could have a little bit of legs to it, but I'm not really looking at them in terms of investment.
Definitely.
I'm looking at it in terms of like, where am I going to put some of my profits?
Just a hold. Just
a hold for a year or something.
The relationship between gold and all of its other rival metals is exactly the same fucking relationship between Bitcoin and the high cap, medium cap, and small cap altcoins. It's like gold goes first, because it has the highest liquidity and the most connections. And then silver, platinum, palladium, nickel, all the other ones will pop later, and we're seeing that happening right now with silver. I think silver will probably double as well. I think silver will do what gold just did. It will double in price. Because if you look at the gold-silver ratio, I think it was actually historic levels of. I think it was historically low. I don't think it's there anymore. But I think about 2 years ago, it was at historic lows. And people like Mike Maloney, who's not an idiot, he's fucking a gold bug. He came out in one of his newsletters and was saying that I'm not even buying any gold myself. I'm just only buying silver at this point. So I think yeah, it's an interesting topic of maybe going to something like silver, platinum, palladium. The issue is like everyone's got to do their own look into this. I'm not going to go and say, yeah, I'm going to go and sell into platinum and then not do it. I need to look at the whole thing more.
Yeah.
But I'm in also in the camp of doing a whole different way of looking at it, where you can actually like leverage against your Bitcoin with some cash and then put that into high interest yield and shit. But the more I go on, the less and less Bitcoin I want to sell, just because I don't mind a bear market, if at least if I'm getting some sort of yield off it.
Just sit in Bitcoin and just
I think platinum or palladium or silver's good.
I think palladium. This chart probably looks the best, to be honest.
Yeah, it's broken out of its local, all that sideways action at the bottom. You'll probably get a retest.
Bang, bang.
The issue I have with platinum and palladium is that, and this is why it doesn't get used as money as much as gold, is just because a significant proportion of its use is industry. So the issue with that is that you just have basically more potential manipulation tools. So it's like XRP is owned by a whole load of fucking one or two people. It just makes it more risky to have a lot of investment in it. But it's kind of the same with the platinum and the palladiums and a lot of the other kind of precious metals. They have a huge amount of its used in industry, and that's not good. Because there could be a company that goes bust and has to sell their massive supply of platinum or palladium, and then you're like, oh fuck, that's just an extra variant which can move the price of it without it being anything to do with the supply and demand dynamic between what the currency creation rate is, which is inflation, which the government like to call inflation, but it's not really what you should call it. But anyway, you know what I'm fucking saying. Is that's the only thing you need to worry about. But it's basically what my point is actually the stock to flow isn't as good as something like gold in terms of the amount of, it's essentially the supply and demand between the mining and where it goes. And with gold, everyone's like, yeah, it's used in your fucking cooker and it's used in your phone. Yeah, but you're talking 150,000 tons of it being used as money. Like, fucking your little phone is literally less than half a gram. And they're not making a million fucking phones a second with gold in it. So there's no way that you can use... That's why gold's good at money anyway, because it's not used in industry. That's the whole fucking reason. It's used in jewelry, which is store of value. Just sits there.
Sound like Peter Schiff, mate. No, I'm joking.
Well, mate, Schiff's right, bro. He's right in loads of stuff. He's right. No, Peter Schiff's right about gold. He's been right about gold since the beginning. But the only issue that Peter Schiff has is that he married his gold and he turned into a gold bug. But he could have just said, I don't really understand Bitcoin, and just said, well, I'll just bet on it anyway.
Yeah,
like that's all he had to do. Yeah, just risk 1 to 10% of my gold, just for something that I don't understand. That's why, like, there was actually a great can't remember the quote exactly, but there's a great quote that says, like, the thing that kills you, it's not the things you don't know, it's the things you think you do know. And it's like, that's the problem. If you think you are too smart in this game, you'll end up missing big opportunities, because a lot of the biggest wins people have, especially investing, trading, like the Warren Buffetts, or let's just say a lot of the big hedge fund managers, they say a lot of the time, like, I invested in it because I didn't know about it, and that actually became a huge win for me. So it's almost like sometimes you have to understand, like, if you want to be the highest performing person on the desk, don't try and know everything, because you should have a part of your brain which says, because I don't know, I should invest in it. And then that will end up probably being some of your biggest wins.
Yeah.
Because no human being can ever know everything. This is investing, by the way. This is not really trading. In trading, it's a little bit different. You want to just get high risk to reward. But I'm saying, like, Schiff could have easily just fucking just said, yeah, I don't really understand this. There's a guy called George Gliedner. You should all go read his shit. George Gliedner, I think he may have died recently, actually, but he's an absolute fucking legend. and he's one of these dudes who, all the way through his life, written multiple books. And one of them was like Life After Radio, then one of them was Life After Television, and then the next one is like Life After Blockchain. And he's literally like did all these books between 60, 70, and 80, even up to 90 years old. But he has this ability to always come back to the drawing board of his own beliefs. And as you get older, it gets more and more difficult to break out of your own beliefs because essentially it's that quote that it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. But we all have that. All happens to every human being. But this guy called George Blyden has like a process to like break that. And I think that's kind of what Peter Schiff had a problem with. He just couldn't change the way he thought about the world in a way that was actually kind of objective. He was just always stuck in his subjective bias. But if you have a process, because it's going to happen to everyone. If you have a process that you literally, I know it sounds weird, but you like review your own thought processes each year in a way that disconnects you from your subjective bias, you will literally have so much more success, especially into your older years, because things change, people change, markets change, environments change, and like if you don't change as a person, you're not going to keep up, and that's why a lot of people end up either losing all their fucking wealth in their later years because they make some stupid decision or don't evolve. You've seen it countless fucking times. But yeah, I've got a call, man. I got a call in 5 minutes. I'll be on the next one, brother.
All right, see you later, mate. Have a good start to the week. I'll
Cheers,
catch you soon, bro. Have a good one.
7:30 Dubai time will be live on my channel. See you later, bro.
All right, see you later. So the last sort of alt that I was going to talk about here is potentially Pepe. Pepe doing a little bit of a breakout. Got a nice little higher here. This is the higher low that we don't want to lose. This is obviously their SR flip. Bang. Doing this whole thing right here. Bullish retest potentially. I'll be watching this as well. So I'm watching Pepe. I'm actually watching Fartcoin in this area as well. Just monitoring it. It's Monday, you know, we're gonna wait for the American market to open. We're gonna see what's happening, but I am potentially interested in maybe a few longs in this area. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And would anyone like me to look at anything in particular? Asta's one that's actually not looking too good, and the reason I'd say that is because we actually do have a bearish retest of a daily weekly open so far and a new low off here. So this doesn't look too great. You'd probably be expecting this to fail somewhere in between here until you've regained this. But yeah, that could be something to keep an eye on. Just potentially if you come up to daily weekly open, there could actually be a good hedge short, if that, with a 2% stop, just in case we go all the way down to the lows for this. But yeah, that's because I'm potentially going to be longing a couple other things, so this might just be some sort of like hedge play, just in case we do go the other direction. But I am potentially a little bit more bullish than bearish this week. Uppish, sorry, not bullish. Uppish this week. So yeah, same thing with quite a lot of these other altcoins. Like Popcat is the same. We've got this little block that we want to hold. New high in here, especially off these highs and these highs as well. Looking quite good. And again, if you just look at the liquidations, you'll potentially see that, yeah, we've got a little bit just at the lows. So if we do come and like take that sort of stuff there, it looks like we're kind of like breaking below. Oh, we look like we're breaking below. Okay, regain. And then we're probably going to go for the weekly open. And then, yeah, if you're long from here, so let me just do it like this for this week, because this is what I'm going to be doing. If I'm long from here, and depending on like, you know, if we get some 4-hour closes below here, if I'm long from here, obviously I'm going to be looking for a bounce. I'm going to take some profit and potentially even hedge if we don't make a new high. If we don't make a new 4-hour high, I'm going to potentially hedge short, and then I'm just going to have two positions that that's either going to be a lower high for my long, and this is going to be a higher low, or yeah, we're just going to break out, or we're going to break out the other way. So I'm just trying to basically get covered, and yeah, like it's probably going to be quite a few easy trades. Just set a couple, like, you know, low leverage orders down here, and then you know, hopefully that gets pinged, and then hopefully we go for the daily open. And if we don't set a new high, I'll potentially like head short, and obviously I'm gonna take some profit and leave my long on, and then yeah, you could even like on a higher low maybe get some more in of your long. Yeah, we'll just see what happens this week. Hopefully we go into like some sort of ascending triangle, and then eventually you get a pop out above the daily weekly open, and then yeah, up into all the way up here. So that's generally what I'm looking for this week. Specifically, not really going to be trading anything specific. I'm just going to be looking to see what's structuring the best, what's got the most like volume, buy pressure, and stuff like that. And yeah, oh, you're right. BNB is moving nice and quick, nice and early. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. And yeah, not really too much else to say. Like we could, I could individually go through these altcoins, but I think it's going to be very, very similar to what I just showed you on like PopCat, or we did one earlier, didn't we? We did Sui. Yeah, very similar sort of like things on all of these altcoins that, yeah, if we get a pullback from the long, and then there could be some head shorts on the weekly open, but something like Sui, which actually has already broken, so there's a 4-hour candle above, I wouldn't be as keen as doing it until I see maybe like going to the hourly and then see, you know, like that, and then a proper higher, like lower high. But yeah, there's going to be some good opportunity this week, and yeah,